Welcome to this edition of Practice Sessions. This is going to be the first in a multi-part series on how to practice scales. So let's just get right to it. But wait, press that little red button down there to subscribe to Outsmart Your Guitar and ring the bell to receive notifications of when new lessons are posted, which is usually once a week. Outsmart Your Guitar is also on Patreon, so go over there and subscribe and become a patron at one of two levels to help support my efforts to continue to provide you with high-quality lesson material for you to learn, play, and grow to be the guitar player you desire to be, to play the songs you love. Even write your own material. All right? Let's get on with the lesson. Before I actually begin showing you how to practice scales, I need to cover a couple of fundamental things. First and foremost is we're going to be using the major scale, or the Ionian mode as it's officially called, as the model for practice. It doesn't really matter what scale you practice, you have to pick one. Well, I'm picking the major scale, the Ionian mode, as the model to set up the methodology and approach of how you practice scales. How I came up with this series was based on almost 60 years of playing guitar, over 30 years teaching guitar, and having students ask me, how do I practice scales? Not just what scales should I know, but how do I practice them once I learn them? And that's what this series is all about. So each lesson is not going to be very long, and it's going to cover very specific things, and you're going to practice them over the course of a week before the next lesson is released. And then you'll build upon what you have been learning. This is cumulative. That's the other aspect of my approach to teaching how to practice scales. You learn with some fundamental stuff, and then you build on that so it becomes cumulative. You begin to add to your knowledge, build on what you've learned previously so that you add to it and you begin to understand, oh, okay, I see how this works now. And then you continue. So each lesson is going to be very short, very directed on specific things. All right? So I could go more into detail here, but right now we're just going to work with the major scale, and you're going to learn its companion scale, the pentatonic major scale. The pentatonic major scale, the 5 notes of this scale, are contained within the major scale, the Ionian mode. So it makes sense to play these side by side as part of your practice. So you kind of get a twofer here, right? And you're going to learn 2 scales, and you're going to learn to use 2 scales, you're going to learn to play 2 scales, and then what you're going to do is you're going to learn to switch in between them, move between them, blend the 2 scales together. It's a really cool thing to do, so you're not just stuck with one scale, okay? Now, you ready? Let's go. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be using the major scale as our model. Here we're in the key of A, and this is the first position of the major scale, or the official Ionian mode. And as a result, it's the Ionian form of the Ionian mode. The Ionian form is the pattern itself. That's why I'm using the term form. All right? Now, I want to point something out here. My thumb is straddling the spine somewhere between the 4th fret and the dot at the 5th fret. Now, you can pivot a little bit, you can rock it a little bit, but do not let it go mobile. Plant it comfortably. So one way you can do this is just kind of lay these fingers here and then put your thumb in, and that's your spot. And then you just slightly angle these a little bit. You don't want to play right on the tip of the finger. You want to play a little back from the tip, but you don't want to play on the flat of the pad either. So you don't want to be playing straight up and down, and you don't want to be playing flat. The little finger is the exception. It can play flat, but these three fingers, you want them at a slight angle like that, all the way across the fretboard. Okay? So, the first thing you do is you play the scale. Up and back, up and back. And if you muff a note, just be aware of it. Pay attention to your technique, your picking technique. I'm not showing the picking right now. I'm more focused on getting your fretting hand functional. I'm going to assume certain things like you actually have pretty good right hand picking technique, but we'll cover a little bit of that too later on. All right, so you just play this up and back. And again, plant your thumb where it feels comfortable to play all the way across and back, and don't let it move. And you can, again, you can rock and you can pivot, but do not go mobile. That is something you're going to have to focus on a lot at first if you're not used to planting your thumb. A lot of guitar players that I've taught, their thumb is quite mobile until they start to understand that when you don't move your thumb, this actually becomes a little bit better, okay? And it becomes easier. So pause the video, practice playing this up and back for 3 minutes or so. Yes, 3 minutes. You want to work on quality of your notes. You want them to ring pure. You want to be right up next to the fret. Notice how my fingers, when I plant them, they're going right behind the fret in most cases. And that's the whole idea of how you want to play, both ascending and descending of the notes of the scale. You want to be right behind the fret. You want to be able to see the fret. If you're on top of it and can't see it, you can hear the difference. Don't be there, and don't play way back here, or you get that kind of stuff going on, and you want to avoid that. So practice getting your fingers right up behind the fret, hugging the fret in a manner of speaking at every note, okay? Then, when you're ready to continue, go ahead and press play and move on, and we'll move on to the next exercise. Here we have the first position of the pentatonic major scale. I've given names to each of the 5 positions of the pentatonic major scale. This is based on using the acronym MAJOR for each of the 5 positions in order. The first position is M, so main. This is the main form. And I gave them the names so that you can associate the name with the pattern, in this case the first pattern, the first position, to help memorization. All right, so I have my thumb sitting behind the 4th fret and sort of between the 4th fret and the dot at the 5th fret. That's my comfort zone. You start with your 2nd finger, and again, you want to hug the frets as you play through this. Again, up and back for about 2 or 3 minutes. Now, as you get this smoothed out, while I didn't mention this before with the first position of the major scale, with that and with this, you want to bring the metronome in. and you want to play one click per note, and you want to be right on top of the click and play the note at the same instant the click happens. This gets you right in time, precisely in time, and you'll appreciate that ability down the road as you practice. So be sure to bring the metronome in and practice this and make every note happen right on the click. All right? So pause the video, practice this for a few minutes, use the metronome, and then when you're ready to continue, restart the video and we'll get to the next exercise. This exercise is a dexterity exercise. When we're playing solos, we don't just run up and down across the scale and play that way. There's a lot of other things going on. You're leaping around and doing a lot of things, right? So you really want to learn to have the dexterity to be able to play notes wherever they occur in whatever order they occur. This is just one of many dexterity exercises that you can play. I'm sure you can find others if you look for dexterity exercises online. Okay, so basically you're going to be one position. Every finger is going to be playing its assigned domain, and the thumb, again, between the 4th fret and the dot at the 5th fret. And so what you want to do is walk through this mechanically first, right? And so I'm just going to play through it here and give you a sense of what you're going for. And so forth. That's the idea. Up and back. Now, as I said, work this out mechanically. Don't worry about time. Just work it out mechanically. What am I asking my fingers to do? What are they being asked to do? What are they supposed to be playing? So you walk through this up and back and figure out what's supposed to be going on there. Pay attention to your picking hand as well. Okay? So pause the video, work this out, then slowly smooth it out. And once you have it fairly smooth, even at a slow tempo, because again, I'm going to reiterate, this is not about speed, it's about quality of execution. Okay? Speed comes over time, but you have to really understand what you're playing in order for the speed to make sense and to be more easily achieved. You have to know what you're playing, right? And so you slowly bring up the tempo incrementally to increase your speed. That's how you develop speed. But right now, we're not interested in speed. We're interested in quality of execution. All right? So work on that. Then once you have it fairly smoothed out, bring in the metronome at a nice, comfortable tempo to where you'll be able to play this. Again, each note right on the click. All right? Then, when you're ready to continue, press play, and we'll get to the next exercise. Here is the pentatonic major first position version of the same dexterity exercise. Again, thumb planted between the 4th fret and the dot of the 5th fret. That's my spot. Find yours. Now, I'm just going to walk through this real quick. Well, actually, nice and easy for you, so you can see and watch and follow along. And you just keep going up and back, up and back. Again, work through the mechanics of this. It's not quite the same as the major scale version. So it may trip you up a little bit because you've got a lot of movement, moving first and fourth fingers over even, second finger over, playing adjacent strings. But that's a good exercise in and of itself because sometimes you're going to be asked to do that in playing solo bits. So that they're included here is actually a very good thing. So pause the video. Again, work out the mechanics. Don't worry about time. Then slowly put it in time and bring a metronome in when you feel comfortable and further refine your timekeeping there, getting the notes happening right on the click, up and back for a couple of minutes. All right? Then, when you're ready to continue, we're going to conclude this lesson. All right, there you have it. Lesson 1 in how to practice scales. So what I want you to do in your practice, every day that you practice this week, I want you to sit down with these exercises. You've got the written material, so lay it out before you and practice each one of these exercises for a couple of minutes each. Don't scrimp on this and focus and be determined and really concentrate on what you're doing, improving your thumb placement, your finger placement, everything. You want everything to work the way it's supposed to work so that it's flowing, fluid, and smooth. Play with a metronome to further refine your timing, okay? Now, you won't necessarily see improvement in the first few days. So what I want you to do, if you're up to the challenge, is record yourself the first day you practice this, and then set that recording aside. Now, you'll be practicing this and other things over the course of the next 30 days. In 30 days, come back and record the exact same thing you did on the first day of practice of this series. You will see a marked improvement in your execution, flow, and everything. It'll be better timing, you'll have more confidence, and it's just going to sound better overall. I guarantee it. In 30 days, you will see a marked improvement in your ability to play this particular scale. All right? So, in a week, when the next lesson drops, you'll be ready, as will I. And we'll see you then.